Good everyone, organization. Today we have a discussion video on incendiary bombs. This is a topic that I think needs to be covered because as of late we've been getting a lot more of them. So what we're going to be talking about is why I think they're a good addition to the game, which vehicles should be the kind of ones that should receive them, and which kind of vehicles should not get them. And also just my opinion on incendiary bombs in general. But anyway, we're going to start with the stuff that should get it. Things like ground attackers slash bombers that don't have the payload, or at least need to use a decent bit of their payload to actually kill a base, if not all their payload. For example, this AD2. Typically you can kill a base in an AD2, but these Mark 78 incendiary bombs just really help this plane out. Same with a couple of others that we're going to talk about, but the main problem with something like these sorts of aircraft is strategic bombers will normally have a bigger payload anyway, but you can at least still get base credit and of course do tasks whilst you're spading a plane perhaps. For example, the Mark 78 incendiary bombs on this AD2 Skyraider, you can pretty much unlock straight away. So instead of going for the 500-pound bombs, you could go straight away for the 750-pound Mark 78s. Now, they're a little bit heavier, but they do pack a decent punch in terms of their explosive mass. And of course, with them being napalm, they burn over time. Same with the German incendiary bombs, which we're also going to talk about. Now, you can't take 3 incendiary bombs. You can only take 2, so you can only take a payload like this. You can only really take HVARs on the wings, which is disappointing to say the least. But, I mean, we've got to start somewhere. So, aircraft like this, obviously the the A1H, sorry, this doesn't need the Mark 78s. And, well, this thing has the Mark 77s, which it's easy to do the math on these things anyway. That's why this payload is so freaking heavy. But, when it comes to aircraft that don't have as good napalm carrying ability as the A1H, in the US tech tree at least, yes. Now, I don't know if the Mauler's going to get them. I think did the Mauler get them? I don't think this did. No, the Mauler did not get them. So, the Mauler is a superior carrying bomb aircraft anyway, because you can take 3 2000s and 12 250s. So, for the Sky Raiders, this is a pretty good addition. But now we need to move on to Germany to talk about something that should not get incendiary bombs. Now, of course, when it came to the Battle Pass, we received a BF-109 F4, which is in Italy. Obviously, I already have it, but still. We're not going to bring the plane up just to talk about it. We're going to use an E4 as an example. The main issue with bringing the incendiary bombs to pretty much nearly all BF-109s, bar the E3 and below, and the K4, of course, is it just doesn't really bring much for them. Because the thing is that, yes, it's a nice addition to have, but was it really necessary? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, unless you're memeing around, you are not going to be taking a bomb on a BF-109. Simple fact. And even then, if you're in Ground RB, you'd probably be better off taking the SC-250 anyway. The incendiary bomb, whilst it is nice, is a bit of a gimmick, and it's also very finicky with how it works. Because the other day when I tested it for the first time, I killed 3 tanks, these open tank destroyers, in a single bomb. But when I dropped one of them on a LVT A4 ZIS-2, the little Chinese tank destroyer, it didn't do any damage to the vehicle whatsoever, yet it has an open roof where the crews sit and all that jazz. And obviously that thing's quite lightly armoured anyway, it's only like 6mm. But you can see my point. That sort of vehicle should have been absolutely decimated with a direct hit from that bomb, let alone the incendiary effect afterwards. But no. These bombs seem to be very finicky, and had I been using the SC-250, which is the explosive bomb, this wouldn't have been a problem. But of course, in the case of the 3 tank destroyers, I'd have maybe been able to kill 2, possibly 3. It depends on how close I could have gotten the bomb, to be honest. But the incendiary bomb did obviously do the work there, but obviously that was a one-time situation. Otherwise, you're going to be finding yourself taking 1 incendiary bomb for a kill. Now, it is useful against SPA because they don't actually have to be hit directly by the bomb. It can obviously spread its incendiary content out. But the thing is why do we need to give it to nearly all BF-109s? And it's not just Germany that's received it. The Swedish have received their BF-109s with incendiary bombs. The Italians have also received theirs with incendiary bombs. And this is just a vehicle or the vehicle type that I don't think needs them. Because why do we need to put incendiary bombs on an aircraft like this when it can't kill a base and it's very situational? Now, in the case of France, which I'm going to bring up later, I'm not pleased about that one because I did testing with that once I got the Mark 78s unlocked, and I'm not pleased about it because, well, I'll get into that. Another vehicle that I think received the incendiary bombs for a good benefit was the BF-110s, and I don't just mean this specific variant, I mean the Hungarian one and the Italian tree, and obviously the C7, the F2, G2 and G4 and the German tree. However, there is a bit of a bug that is currently going on with this aircraft. I'm not sure if they've patched it. They have actually patched it. That's interesting. But originally, you used to be able to take 2 incendiary bombs. I believe it's the G4 that carries that now. Let me just quickly switch over to the G4. Yeah, so the G4 can carry these bombs. But of course, here's the glitch. So as you can tell, it's marked it as the incendiary bombs as it should, but it's put on rocket tubes with no rockets in them. The 37mm gun pod, and yeah, that's just a bug. That doesn't affect the aircraft. The only thing it does stop is you are not allowed to use the 20mm in the nose, which are normally present, so you just have to stick with the 30mm. So I'm hoping they patch this bug out. But originally, a BF-110 could not take out a base on its own. If you've watched my Strike Aircraft Advice video in the multi-role section, you will see that happen. But now, these aircraft can kill a base. This is a good improvement, because the BF-110 has always been a plane that is very versatile, and the one thing it couldn't do is kill a base. Now, on some maps it can with the 1,000 kilogram bomb. That doesn't count. I'm on about normal maps that we tend to get more often. But this is the kind of thing that I think is a good step in the right direction. Because the BF-110s have always been a plane that never was really able to kill a base when these new maps started coming in a few years ago. But as soon as we got these incendiary bombs, I was eager to test it, and sure enough, this thing can now kill a base on any map you put it on. So, in terms of the BF-110s and other twin-engine aircraft that could potentially receive incendiary bombs that originally could not kill a base, I'm happy for this. But then we come to another one which I really don't think needed them, and that is the Ju-188/HE-177. Now the thing is with these sorts of aircraft is these aircraft tend to have pretty big bombs anyway, and incendiary bombs at around 5.3 aren't really going to be doing much in terms of ground RB. Sure, you might be able to incendiary bomb a Hellcat, but why didn't you just use a 500 or 1,000? And to me, that's just what I feel about it. Now, whilst it is nice and all to be dropping 6 250 incendiary bombs, the problem is the 188 and the 177 at least, they have a payload which I prefer in ground RB anyway, and that's this one. The 1,800 kilogram Satan bomb and the 1,000 kilogram normal big boom bomb, which we're all familiar with. This is my preferred payload for ground RB, and it's more consistent. And the thing is with incendiary bombs is, as I said, at 5.3, you're not really going to be running into a huge amount that they're really going to be doing a lot to anyway. And most of the open-topped anti-aircraft vehicles that you're probably going to run into are either going to be American or German. It's very rarely something like Russia, because even Britain sometimes brings the Crusader with the closed turret, the Mark II. The Mark 1 can obviously be incendiary bombed, but still, people don't tend to bring that. And this plane is just one of them. Same with the 177, because the 177, to me, same with the Dornier 217s, these didn't need it either. But with the 177, if I just go to the 177 and show you the payload that I prefer, why would I bother when I have two 1,800 kilogram bombs, which these do jobs at the same time, but then you've got 6,500s to do something else? I mean, what's the point? Sure, you will be able to do maybe a little bit of work with the C500s. I think it takes 3 to kill a base at this sort of BR where the 177 is. I believe it's 3. But, like, what was the need? This plane has never really had a problem with base bombing. Like, yeah, it can only kill 2 bases on most maps. But the fact is that the 177 can do 2, whilst the 288 can do 1. And they can work together to take out all 4 bases, go back and rearm, do the same again, and that's what they do. But why did these things need it, let alone the 288 gets these bombs as well? But I digress. And coming on to my final point about incendiary bombs. The aircraft that really, really should not have received it, and we'll also talk about my personal opinion about it. The P-63C5 for France, and the Bearcat gets these as well, and I believe it does the same thing. The problem is with the P-63C5 is this thing can now actually kill a strategic base on every single map. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a problem to some of you, but remember, we're in a 16v16 situation at the moment with the game, where we're going to have players who are going to be either flying bombers, flying ground attackers, flying fighters with bombs on, and if you're around 4-0, you might run into this. Now, I'm not saying this will happen guaranteed, but when I saw this thing getting incendiary bombs, and I saw they were Mark 78s, I was concerned, and I had every right to be. And the thing is that yes, you do need to drop all 3 bombs to kill a base on most maps, but that's not my point. The point is that we're now going to be seeing P-63s bombing bases with incendiary bombs, which means one of the better planes around 4 for France is going to be thrown away, and knowing our luck, this thing will drop down to 3-7 because people keep doing it. So, yeah. This is one that I definitely think should not have had incendiary bombs added. The Bearcat, there's an argument to be made for that, because if that thing gets up-tiered, it fights a lot of vehicles that tends to be overtopped anyway, in ground RB terms, of course. But the main thing is that the P-63, whilst it will meet stuff like that in ground RB, this is a problem I can foresee in terms of air RB anyway. But I digress. But going back to the A1H, because this is going to conclude it here, my personal opinion about incendiary bombs is I feel this is a good addition to the game. And when we obviously had them done with the A1H and things like that, it was definitely a step in the right direction for the game. Obviously, we've obviously been working out like the payloads you can take to do as much as you can with incendiary bombs, plus conventional bombs like these 250-pounders. But the main thing is that we've obviously had time to work that out on the A1H, and well, this is the most you can strap to an A1H. It's 20 250-pounders, 8 incendiary bombs, a toilet bomb, and a rocket. Now, you can take an extra incendiary bomb if you wish, but you do have to trade 6 250s for that, and well, this is just an example of being the heaviest payload, but anyway. I feel incendiary bombs are a good thing to add. It's just, I would be very careful, and this is me saying that to Gaijin, I would be very careful about what you add them to, because, as I said, when it came to the P-63, I was very curious, and, well, we all know what happened when curiosity met the cat, so I would be very, I'd be very cautious about adding incendiary bombs in the future. Now, as I said, I think a perfect candidate for this would be the Mauler, because whilst the Mauler is a plane that really doesn't actually need them, and I don't think it ever carried them, if it did, this is a good target. I think this could work for it. Otherwise, conventional bombers that don't need them to kill bases, don't add them in. Definitely don't add them on new fighters, because I don't feel that is fair in a way. But for ground attackers that struggle to kill bases, yeah. And one last thing, to dedicate this to Gaijin, if you are going to add in more incendiary bombs, can you please fix the PBJ's payloads? This thing had the same payload as a B-25, but anyway, now that I've got that off my chest, because I've been waiting to say that. I hope you enjoyed today's video about discussing incendiary bombs. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if I'm right or I'm wrong, and also let me know what you think in terms of adding more of them, because I don't think I see a problem with it. It's just I think guys, you need to be very selective about what they pick. But anyway, I'm going to leave you all to it for today. Leave your, shall we say, opinions in the comments below, and let's discuss it. I'll see you all on the next one.